Hi, Mike Gibson and Tim Henry coming to you live from SCAI 2016, talking again about stem cell therapy. Tim, talk to us about the ReNeu study. Different than Athena, this one focuses on the refractory unstable angina patient.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about the trial.
Yeah, so ReNeu was designed to be the first definitive phase 3 stem cell trial.
Right.
This would have been the trial that would get our first approvable thing. The background is we have an increasing number of patients who have refractory angina, who have, we keep people alive longer, and they have advanced coronary disease with significant symptoms, but they're not really candidates for further revascularization, either surgery or PCI. Turns out that's about 10 to 15% of angiograms that we do, and we know that there's almost 12 million plus Americans that have chronic angina. Mm-hmm. So this is a big problem.
Yeah.
And we don't have great treatments for them. So beyond medical therapy and revascularization, when you're past that, and these people, they live a long time, we've improved their mortality, but their quality of life is terrible.
These are the walking wounded.
They are.
Yes.
And can't walk to the mailbox because they have too much chest pain. They come to the hospital a lot. They've all had 20 plus angiograms. So these are the typical no option patients.
Sure.
And what we knew was preclinical studies show that what stem cells do best is grow blood vessels or improve perfusion. Growing new heart muscle is a tough problem.
Sure.
But improving perfusion, multiple preclinical models showed we can do it. We did a phase 1 trial led by Douglas Sordo. We
Sure.
participated in when I was in Minnesota. That led to a large phase 2 trial called ACT-34. Completely blinded trial, 167 patients, significant improvement in exercise time, significant reduction in angina. Very positive phase 2 trial, the most positive stem cell trial. So because of that, we then designed with the FDA a phase 3 trial that was going to be definitive. If this trial is positive, then the treatment will be approved.
Sure. And what happened?
So it's a very unfortunate story, complicated. So as with any trial, it takes a little while to start off. One of the things the FDA wanted was an unblinded standard of care. So patients don't really love that because 1/4 of the patient knows they're not getting anything.
Right.
So recruitment was a little slow. But then we got ramped up and such that we were really recruiting very quickly. And then for inexplicable reasons, not safety, not efficacy, purely a business decision, Baxter decided to stop the trial.
Right.
It shocked all of us. At the time the trial was stopped, there was over 20 people that had been consented, planning to be treated that month. So we were definitely rolling.
Yeah, I remember I was the DSMB chairman and was disappointed to see that decision made.
So the good news is we insisted, really, the investigator steering committee, that we follow the patients for the 2 years. We insisted that we have the chance to look at the data and present the data, which we'll present tomorrow for the first time. And I guess what I would say about this is, Mike, opportunity lost.
Sad to see.
It's really sad to see. What you see is, number one, the standard of care arm did terrible. Of course, as soon as they found out they weren't in the study, the first thing they did is go off to the emergency department.
Sure.
And so the standard of care arm did very poorly in terms of events. Then we're left with 2 blinded arms. So everybody got G-CSF, everyone got intramyocardial injection of either placebo versus cells. So completely blinded, this group. And you saw a significant improvement in exercise time and a reduction in angina, identical to what we saw in the phase 2 trial and in the phase 1 trial.
Wow.
So the problem, of course, is that the trial is powered for 400 patients.
Right.
Of which 100 are standard care, 100 placebo, 200 treatment. And what we're left with is 122. So it's even smaller than what the phase 2.
Sure.
So you had a 2.5-minute improvement in exercise time in the treated patients.
Wow.
You do see a placebo effect, so there was about a 90-second improvement in the.
We've always seen that back even to the
Always seen
VEGF
it.
days, this training
Always
effect.
seen it. Right.
We even did things in the old days, you and I, where we'd have people exercise twice to see what that training effect was to subtract it from that improvement.
Right.
But you always see a little bit, but 2.5 minutes is pretty
2.5
robust.
minutes is you know, the average, if you take a placebo groups in this patient population, you can expect about 60, 70 seconds at 6 months.
Right.
That's what you expect.
Right.
This one, the group, and it's not a true placebo because they do get GCSF, so it's possible there's some effect. But still, on top of that, there was this additional almost a minute improvement, depending on what time point. So for us, you know, it's a frustrating situation because here's a patient population that don't have options.
Right.
And now you have 3 consecutive trials that show the same thing. You have 4 meta-analysis with other different cells as well, all of which are positive.
Right.
So you have something that should be available.
Right.
But yet, we're not any closer to an appropriate powered phase 3 trial.
So where are we going from here, Tim? I mean, what's the field going to do? We need a big definitive trial. How are we going to accomplish that?
So that, it's really, I think, I'll tell you, it's frustrating for those, it's frustrating for patients. It's frustrating for us because we had the definitive trial.
Yes.
But yet not because of any reasons of our own, purely financial. And I think this is one that we have to really look at America and say, how do we do clinical trials? You know, it can't cost $100 million to develop a therapy.
$100 million.
Yeah, or more, right? Or more.
We're talking hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
I mean, nearly $1 billion to do some of the big trials we run. So. Well, you're right. We've got to come up with streamlined methods. We've got to use registries as the backbone, quit recreating all the data collection system, use NCDR and other systems to try and answer these questions definitively, but with large numbers of patients in a very cost-effective fashion. We've got to get there.
We have to. And I'll tell you, just little things like having the standard of care arm increase the trial by 25% and probably increase the cost of the trial by 30%.
Right.
So if it's a $200 million trial, that increased it by $70 million. I don't know the exact numbers, but you know that the point. And so those kinds of things are really important.
Absolutely.
And incorporating it, design into how we do healthcare, I think is really important.
Right. And using electronic health records to do the follow-up, find patients, et cetera. I think we're on the cusp of a revolution there in other areas where we are going to interrogate the electronic health record to find those people with the lipid abnormalities that should be enrolled and get hundreds of people come to the clinic, get enrolled in these trials, and then follow them up using electronic health records. So I think primary prevention, we're going to make a start in that way. But in the device world, we've also got to harness the registries and everything to get the job done.
We have to, and then we have to use innovative ways, especially for these things like aortic stenosis or acute MI where there's lots of people, you can do large trials.
Right.
But for these patients that have refractory angina or, it's a more focused population, we have to find ways to actually have therapies available for them.
Right.
And so I would look at Renew and say opportunity lost.
Okay.
I would say that we're encouraged that the results were the same, but unfortunately 5 years later, we're in the same place we were then.
Congratulations. Great work as always.
Mike.
Thanks for joining us.
Always
Thanks to all
nice
of you.
to be here.
Good to have you here, Tim. And thanks to all of you for joining us here live from SCAI 2016.